Okay, greetings, friends of the apocalypse. Welcome to Podcast at Ground Zero, home of the apocalypse. This is Podcast at Ground Zero, episode 31, Apocalypse Music. And this week we have myself, as usual, the apocalypse nerd, Jared Wallace, Adam Baum Glancy, and we have two special guests with us this week from the indie film Apocalypse Rock. And I already told them I'm going to get their names wrong, probably. We have the gentleman in green, Doug Powell. And we have the gentleman in the Jaws shirt, Brian Pennington. Got it right?
Good.
Yay! Because I'm terrible with names, so I always like to put
Pennington, as in of the Long Island Pennington. Look, he's already swilling some Beaujolais. Just to thumb his nose at the rest of us.
Brian rolls.
You sound so fancy, Pennington. So this week is Apocalypse Music. We're going to be talking about music influenced by the apocalypse. A lot of the music's from the 80s, because during the Cold War, not so much nowadays, but we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about how people will make music in the apocalypse. Are we just going to be banging on drums? Are we going to have everything? Is everything going to go a cappella? Are people going to use their precious batteries to listen to their iPods to hear music? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to be talking about Brian and Doug's film Apocalypse Rock. An indie film that is it currently in post-production right now?
Post-production, yeah.
Post-production. It is about a survivor of the apocalypse, and he's surviving in an emergency broadcast system station. And to help keep his sanity and try to connect with the world, he plays music and does his own show. And I believe he calls his program, the station, the Apocalypse Rock. So we're going to talk about their film. They're going to share with us, and we're even going to have a sneak preview of the trailer for the film, and then also towards the end of the show, Brian's I believe, still gonna give a code, and I'll post a link. So if people want to come back to it to look at it later for a limited time, we're gonna put that out there. But first, I want to have Brian and Doug just give us a little synopsis of who they are, so the audience knows who they're going to be sharing this evening with.
And we need to know what brought you to the apocalypse.
Brian.
I go first?
Yeah.
Well, as Jared mentioned, I'm Brian Pennington, and gee whiz, I've been wanting to make movies ever since Jurassic Park came out, because that movie is awesome, and I just want to work with dinosaurs and robots and actors and all kinds of stunts.
So you're 5. What you're telling us is that with the dinosaurs and the robots, you are 5.
Brian does have a boyish enthusiasm.
Good. That's what we like around here.
So I fell in love with movie making and just, hopelessly just kind of pursued that, and my parents were on board with it. So I went to school for it down in Orlando at a school called Full Sail, and it's also where I met my wife, Karen, and she's also my partner in crime. She's my producer, AD, brain trust, if you will.
So she's the one who says, we can't afford that.
She's the one who says, no, make it simpler. Let's build less. But she okayed this idea, thank goodness.
Well, we are cheap, if nothing else.
But no, I have not made a feature yet. We've only done shorts. Apocalypse Rock is a short film, but we're looking to kind of sink our teeth into a feature probably in the next couple of years.
And why the subject matter of the apocalypse for your film? Are you generally a fan of the apocalypse, or is this just a one-shot deal for you for the apocalypse?
No, I mean, I like the apocalypse because of the limited humanity. So what I like about this is it's just one man, and it really lets you focus in on the subject of what makes us human, what makes us tick, what makes us break down. Things happen a lot faster when there's no one to bounce your character, bounce your ideas off of. So that's very interesting for me as a writer and a filmmaker to put someone there and start where things have already gotten to the point you don't want them to get to. Nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
And now, Brian, you said you went to Full Sail down in Orlando. When did you do that? What did you back a couple of years ago? I mean, when did you go?
Oh, that was in 2002. I went.
Oh, did you know? I had a friend who taught at Full Sail for a number of years. Dustin Klingman. Did you?
No, it does not ring a bell. I don't say a turnaround is high there, but the class turnaround is like you're with the same class for the entire length of the course.
Gotcha.
Very tunnel vision, kind of working 24/7.
What about Dave Arneson? Does that ring a bell? Dave Arneson?
I'm looking at Karen here now. It doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, no, just two people I knew who taught at Full Sail for a number of years, and so I was like, hey, do you know them? You went there, so I was just pulling one of those, but you never know.
It's an excellent school. I mean, in fact, the people that we met with there that really knew their stuff, we still stay in contact with. In fact, the director of photography on Apocalypse Rock was a good friend from school. Flew out from California to work on it. So
The coolest guy too, Orlando.
It's very cool. I wish I had his style, even just like 10% of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed working with him, and just getting to meet him. He's just a cool guy.
Cool. And Doug, please tell us, who is Doug?
I'm just a dude. I live in Maryland. I have done stand-up for a long time. I did it pretty hard for between like 2001 and 2008. I was working on becoming a stand-up comic, and then took a few changes, started doing some storytelling, and got into film. Just doing an indie film called Spaceman Wilson with a mutual friend of Brian and mine named Tim Scott, who I guess is living in LA now. Tim's living in LA.
LA, living the dream.
Living the dream. But Brian and his crew were like the basically Tim's whole team for this film. It's a very cool film. It's about this like guy who is an astronaut and he kind of hates it, and he's like kind of hates his job.
So did being an astronaut become like being a
yeah.
7-Eleven clerk? I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
he's just like was like, this sucks. I'm just like picking up dirt. I hate it. Anyway, so Brian's whole team worked on that film, and then they got in contact with me when they were doing, I guess it was the DC-48 in, what was that, 2012 probably.
I think, yeah. I don't know. I lost track of time.
Yeah, and then we started working together from there.
Cool.
We've done a couple of films and had some success with them, and
yeah,
it's a good team.
Excellent. Now, besides Apocalypse Rock, where else does your interest lie in the apocalypse, or is this your first foray into the apocalypse?
I'm honestly, and I don't know how much of it has to do with the apocalypse, quote unquote, but the reason I kind of got out of the performing arts in general and started working in other directions in my life is because I had this realization that I don't know how to do anything. And like,
guess what? Everybody realizes that at some point.
No, they don't. People, I wanted to do something, so I started farming. I farmed pretty heavily for the last 7 years, just taking different opportunities, and then I'm really fascinated with being able to take care of myself without
self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency, big time. That's been like my whole new direction in my life, for sure.
You'll be useful for the apocalypse because you'll know how to do like micro agriculture.
Oh yeah, we're totally using you. Okay.
Yeah. What you mean, Jared, is we're going to have to capture him and break his ankle, so he can't leave us to die. Okay, that's what we're going to have to do.
But my wife and I are really into right now. We're in the middle of a small marathon of the TV show Doomsday Preppers. So I'm sure you guys.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about those people. They're kind of special.
It's fascinating because like they are crazy. For the most part, a lot of them are so afraid of something that it's dominating the majority of their life. However, a lot of their predictions are very likely. Those things could very well happen. And at the end of every episode, they go through this whole thing, and you meet these people, and then it's like, what are the odds of this actually happening? And they always have the same generic government-stamped answer that's like, scientists say that this could obviously happen in a matter of years. But, most scientists are skeptical that this, it's like, come on, it's going to happen next week.
They have it scheduled. They actually have it scheduled for next week.
It is.
Yeah, but the thing is, with these guys is like these guys are prepping, they're this or that, and then somebody's just going to come along. They're going to let their guard down for a second. They're going to blow their head off and take all their shit.
Well, you remember we had those idiots up here in Washington State, not too far south of here, whose appearance on Doomsday Preppers was, well, we've just planned to take everybody's stuff at gunpoint. That was their plan, right?
Someone did that.
Yes, and they came on Doomsday Preppers, and I want to point out how entertained I was by the enormous jiggly belly that the guy had who came on. He just had this body where the fat started somewhere just south of his eyelids and just, waddled down his body. He's like, we're your worst nightmare. And we're going to take all your stuff.
I was wondering if somebody had done that, because when you watch it, everybody's like stockpiling and prepping.
He's like, we're not taking anything. We're not stockpiling. We're just gonna have weapons. We're just gonna crash into your house and take all your shit.
That's kind of the smarter way to do it. That's kind of the way to go.
Except, okay, you're gonna regret saying that's the smarter way of doing it, because here comes the payoff.
Yeah.
This idiot was on parole for a felony, and he's not allowed to have guns anymore, and he stood around and posed with rifles and shit, shooting things, and his neighbors, who had been having, no kidding, problems with him since forever, because he's the crazy guy who's shooting rifles on his property, and maybe once tries the bullets zing over into the other property or whatever, and was doing weird things to intimidate his neighbors. And so they all just took that videotape of the show down to the sheriff's office, turned it in, and next thing you know, the cops turn up, and Mr. Self-declared apex predator, and I shit you not, he used the term apex predator, is hauled off to prison. But wait, it only gets better, because, Jared, do you remember what his original felony was?
I don't remember, but I could always go back to the show about reality TV where we talked about all this already.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
please.
we did this already. This is old material, but yeah, it was for something like communicating with a minor for immoral purposes.
Oh no, Botch.
Oh yeah.
He's the worst kind of guy.
So yes, if you want to, well, I mean, clearly if he'd lost 200 pounds and stayed at the gym, he could be Wes, maybe, from Road Warrior. Maybe he could work up to that. But right now,
I think the depressing thing about that show, though, is that it shows you that the people who are going to make it and continue to procreate and make the next generation of people are the craziest, dumbest people. They're the only people preparing. All the smart people are like working and making families and.
Wow. Way to depress everybody.
It's depressing.
So, all right, moving on to our next segment. Now we got introductions out of the way. Some quick in the news about the apocalypse. Myself and Mr. Glancy both received our copies of Fractured. Let me see if I can get it up here. Fractured: Tales of the Canadian Apocalypse. This was sent to us by Sylvia Marino Garcia. Marino, thank you, Garcia. I told you I'm bad with names. Found us on Twitter, started talking about her book, and so she sent us a review copies, and like I always say, I will read it, and we will review it, and we'll talk about it. We have several friends of the show who are from Canada, and they're interested to hear about this, so this is our first. Somebody sent us some books for review. We're making it. So we got that, and I got a new game in the mail, Scott. I got a game off of Kickstarter called Virus, the card game.
Right.
It's about basically a deck of cards. You have viruses, all the different mutations, and everything that go along. And you want to build, and you basically build. You have a hand, and you're building a virus. I haven't looked into too much. It just came in the mail today, so it looks pretty interesting. Again, apocalyptic. Let's make it a 100% lethal virus that can kill off the world. So I got.
Yeah, because that'll clear a lot of extra room.
Yeah, so
it'll be roomier.
So I got that in the mail today, so I'll look into that later on, and we'll talk about that. And I also discovered, and I just posted it on the blog today, is Fantasy Flight Games is coming up with a new line of horror survival game called In the End, and it's broken up into 4 different segments. Like they're putting a zombie apocalypse, a monster apocalypse, alien invasion, and a robot uprising upon. They're going to come out with a source book for each one. Now, it's a role-playing game, but the premise is you're playing yourself. And apparently they're going to give you some kind of rules to be able to stat yourself, and you and your friends play as survivors in the apocalypse. So, of course, it's going to be every gamer. Oh, I got 160 IQ. What are you talking about? You're going to get all of that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and say that we're not going to stat intelligence. That's just whatever you bring to the table.
Yeah.
I'm high minus 3.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be painful.
I'm gonna check it out regardless, but that's out there. So
I remember some game in the past where you're supposed to play yourselves, and the whole idea was your friends, everybody else at the table, they're the ones who stat. You didn't stat yourself. Everyone else told you what they thought your stats should be.
Oh, I like that.
It's the friendships.
That's how real life is.
That's how you find out who your friends are and what they really think of you. And probably that's a game that I bet they never got to the actual game mechanics because a fist fight just broke out right there at the table.
So that's all I have for in the news today. Do you have anything, Scott, for that?
No, I have no new. No, I have no new apocalypse material. That's
okay. All right, so we'll move on to the first part of the show.
Oh, I will say this.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess the closest thing I had, of course, was that, and I've been recently given 2 books that I'm going to be looking at. One of them is a friend of mine gave me the Southern Reach trilogy. I don't know if you've been hearing anything about this, but it's sort of it seems to have sort of a micro-apocalypse feel to it, where the story takes place in something called Area X. Has been cut off from the rest of the world for decades. Nature is recreating the last vestiges of human civilization. The first expedition into Area X returned with reports of pristine, Edenistic landscape. The second expedition ended in a mass suicide. The third in a hail of gunfire as its members turned on each other. The members of the 11th expedition returned as shadows of their former selves within weeks, and all had died of cancer. So, yeah, there's something micro-apocalypsy going on in this, as if maybe this little patch called Area X is the doom that foreshadows what's going to happen to the rest of mankind. So we'll be checking out the Southern Reach trilogy.
Cool. Nice. All right, cool. So we'll move on to the first part of the show. We're going to talk about music in the apocalypse, music that has influenced the apocalypse or about the apocalypse. Anything from REM's, it's the end of the world as we know it. We're going to talk about that. Music that's written about the apocalypse, whether it's about nuclear war, is it anti-war, is it about nuclear war? It seems we had a lot of that in particularly the 80s. Land of Confusion, Phil Collins, the famous video with the puppets about, the whole nuclear war conflict. So let's just kind of talk about that for a little. We'll talk about that for a little bit here, just different musics, anything that that you could think of, or hey, and guess what happened? We lost Scott just like we said we would. So.
But we're still here, so it's good. It's
exactly. No, it's fine. So. It happens all the time. He drops us all the time. And usually I'm sitting there talking like a talking head, like, okay, let me fill some space because I have nobody to bounce off of. So, but anyway, so just there was, like I said, especially in the 80s, there was a lot of music, and I've done some research in the past about there's so much music out there that's about the apocalypse. Anything from, things that come to mind are, like I said, the REM song, Phil Collins. Iron Maiden, anybody? 2 Minutes to Midnight?
No, I never really was into 80s metal. I never was. No, I don't really know that song.
2 Minutes to Midnight was a song that Iron Maiden wrote about. Of course, 2 Minutes to Midnight, there's the atomic clock, which is put out by the group of atomic scientists. And every year they put out this where we are, because midnight is nuclear war. Okay. The closest we've been is the 1960s or the early 60s, the Cuban Missile Crisis. They put us at 2 minutes to midnight then. So I think we're about 4 or 5 minutes right now. So they wrote the song about 2 minutes to midnight. So the closer we get to midnight, the closer we are to nuclear war. So Iron Maiden wrote about that. Everything. What do we got? Nina? Anybody remember Nina?
Yeah, Nina Hagen.
Yep, 99 Luftballons. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all about nuclear explosions. You know, those are the mushroom clouds, balloons.
Well, actually, I'm not sure about that. I had a German friend of mine back in 80, I guess it was mid-'80s or something, like 87, 86, something like that. And she was saying that that the translation that we get from MTV, from the German to the English, is way off, and that the song is a lot darker and nastier in German, despite the fact it's got this ridiculously cheerful pop, you know, beat to it. It's all about the you know, the war machine being tripped off by the littlest of provocations and roasting us all like a bunch of fritters. But I'm not sure about that translation about the balloons. So.
Well, but the song is about, like, the balloons are supposed to be the nuclear missile, you know, the mushroom cloud. So
if it was the 80s and we get 80 or 99 nuclear detonations, we should consider ourselves lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
We got off easy if that's all we get is an exchange of 99 devices. But anyways, yeah, I remember Nina. What else was from the, you know, the things that always struck me were stuff from the 60s, you know, things like Barry Maguire's Eve of Destruction.
Yes.
The End by The Doors, which, you know, brilliantly becomes the opening credits of Apocalypse Now. That's where everyone remembers that. What else? Even Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth is just, it's a little dystopic, but for some reason the 60s seems to have generated a lot of unpleasant vibes.
Just what was going on in the 60s probably just, you know, contributed greatly.
Now, Doug or Brian, can you think of any music about the apocalypse that you're familiar with, or know, or like, or care about, or you know, that you enjoy?
Yeah, there's a song by a singer-songwriter named Josh Ritter called "The Temptation of Adam," and it's about this. It's this love song about this man and this woman. It's just all metaphor, but they're in this fallout shelter with this nuclear missile. And he just draws a lot of comparisons to that type of scenario to describe their, like, their growth of their relationship. It's a cool song. And then there's, you know, When the Shit Goes Down by Cypress Hill, circa 1993. I think it was the Black Sunday album. I don't know if that's specifically about the apocalypse, but when the shit goes down, you better be ready, are the lyrics.
No, it's possible, because there's a lot of songs out there that you would think aren't about it, but they actually are. Like
yeah.
Like
and I would say that there's so much, a lot of music and art in general is about death and about the end of something and the fear of that, and I think that's generated so much art in every culture. You know?
Oh, exactly. Art, you know, being anything from books to movies to music, and it's like, you know, it's a pretty, you know, prolific. God, I can't talk today.
Prolific.
Thank you. Topic. I speak good English, but you know, nuclear war and warfare, just warfare in general. You know.
Well, I want to throw out two other things. Just to remember, and I don't know.
I wasn't talking or anything, but anyway, go ahead.
I know you weren't, but you missed religion. And when you're talking about the things that are inspired by or do inspire the apocalypse, you miss religion, and it reminded me of those creepy Johnny Cash songs. And I don't know when he recorded them, but the man comes around, and God's going to cut you down.
Oh yeah.
Both of those are miserably apocalyptic, and you know. Zack Snyder figured that out with The Man Comes Around for that opening montage of Apocalypse from his remake of Dawn of the Dead, which sadly was the first time I'd ever heard that song, and I feel like I've been gypped because I didn't realize just how bleak and dark Johnny Cash was. You know, he's not just wearing black. His stuff is awful.
Oh yeah, he is the man in black for sure. But like I was saying, it's, you know, that music. The topic of nuclear war has inspired a lot of music, a lot of bands. Brian, you got anything jump in. Any music you want to add to that, or you're just enjoying the show right now?
I'm racking my brain. I'm sure somewhere in my punk rock catalog of Sex Pistols or Bad Religion, there's got to be something in there, but nothing's coming to mind.
Oh, okay. You know what? Then I'm going to give one for you.
All right, go for it.
Do you remember? You might not remember. There's a band, a British band, which they claim to be the first psychobilly band called the Meteors.
Nope.
No? Okay. There's a band called the Meteors, and they had an album that came out called Mutant Rock. Okay? Now, it's all, the whole song, the whole album's about, let me pull up for the mutant, what does it say here? The whole world is dead now after the neutron bomb. We all stand up and looked at it. We wondered where it came from, but it was many years ago. What's left is changed by shock. We all live in the ruins, and we do the mutant rock. You know, come on, let's do the mutant rock. So the whole band theme is about, the album's about, mutants and radiation. And I first discovered that band totally by accident because I was reading. Do you remember? You guys remember Heavy Metal magazine?
Mm-hmm.
No, Heavy Metal.
We're dealing with a different generation there, Jared.
Apparently.
Pokemon. No,
I did just make a Cypress Hill reference, so
He did. But Heavy Metal magazine is still in existence. But it's an adult graphic magazine with stories. It's nowadays.
Cartoon boobies.
Heavy Metal. Okay, I played a video game with Heavy Metal. There we go. Okay, I don't have Heavy Metal.
Wow.
I boobies. No, I'm just
Cartoon boobies. It's it got worse when Kevin Eastman took over in 2000. Anyway.
Then it became all about his wife's cartoon boobies.
Yeah, his wife's cartoon boobies. But there was a story in it called Rebel by an artist
Pepe
called
Moreno.
Can I talk today, Scott? Pepe
No.
Moreno, okay, put out the story called Rebel. And in the story, there was a poster in the room, just in the back, it said, the Meteors, Mutant Rock. And I saw that, I'm like, Mutant Rock, that's cool. Because I'm like 14 years old when I first read this. So I was in graphics art class. Now, graphic arts back in like 85 was, Rubylith, actual printing, taking negatives, screen printing. There was no computers in graphic arts class back then, So we printed T-shirts, and a friend of mine did the copy of the art, and had a shirt that had the Meteors Mutant Rock on it. So,
nice.
but they're like a psychobilly band back from the 80s, and all their stuff's about that kind of music. And there's a ton of metal bands out there. The first one that comes to mind, Nuclear Assault. Half the songs and half the albums are all about nuclear war, radiation, ruins, atomic war. There's a ton of other metal bands out there. Like it was funny. I was listening to satellite radio a couple weeks ago, and somebody was doing a segment on the metal station, and it was all about nuclear war. It was the weirdest thing. I'm like, that's funny because we're gonna be talking about this soon. So I just took my Shazam and just kept on tagging songs as he was playing them so I could remember them. There's a band called let's see here, Ghoul, Mutant Mutilator, Mutoid Man, Savagers, Autopsy, Mutant Village, Voivod, Nuclear War. There's so many metal bands that are doing songs about mutants and the apocalypse and nuclear war. It's just rampant in that now. So, and that's always kind of been out there.
Well, speaking of classics, do you guys remember the Black Sabbath song "War Pigs"?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one right there. Just caught that on the radio just days before this broadcast, and was again, shit. How did I miss that? Well, probably because I was listening to Warren Zevon in the '80s, and sadly, there's some just lovely dystopia from Warren, but damn it, Warren never came up with a really apocalyptic piece of music. Personal apocalypse, but nothing global, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there's also the classic, which Fishbone song, "Party at Ground Zero."
Yep, for which this
show was that's its namesake. Because when I was creating trying to come up with a name for the show, for some reason I heard Fishbone, "Party at Ground Zero," and I'm like, podcast at Ground Zero. I'm like, that'll work. So. So we have that, Fishbone did "Party at Ground Zero." Weird Al did a parody song, was it Christmas at Ground Zero? I think it was called.
There was definitely Christmas at Ground Zero, and then there was that Happy Birthday to You song he did, which was kind of a fuck you to the Happy Birthday people because, you know, there's a copyright on it and you have to pay out ridiculous amounts of cash if you ever want to use Happy Birthday in a public forum.
Really?
Oh, yes.
That's
In
crazy.
fact, there's a big thing going on.
Happy birthday.
Well, I want to say that the copyrights fell to Warner Brothers. I could be wrong about that, but there was a guy who made a film called Happy Birthday, which was all about the attempt to debunk the copyright, the idea that Warner held its copyright. It's why when you go into TGI whatevers and they sing Happy Birthday to you at your table, they don't sing Happy Birthday to you. They sing some bullshit song that's like happy birthday, we're happy to see you for your birthday and your money. Please come together.
They make up their own lesser song.
Yes.
I was told recently that actually that was debunked, and apparently the people that claim ownership are now in deep
Yes.
having to pay stuff back. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so there was a Weird Al Yankovic song called Happy Birthday to You that ends with a chorus about how we're enjoy your birthday because we're all going to die in nuclear fire. Was it the monkeys in the Pentagon are going to cook our goose, their fingers on the trigger, all they need is an excuse, is like the last chorus of the song. So happy birthday to you and a pinch to grow an inch.
Nice. Did you know that Jethro Tull had a song about nuclear war?
No.
Surprise me.
Protect and Survive from their 1980 album called A. It's about the British government's public information program, and it talks about EMP and overpressure and again there's so much you would never expect that Jethro Tull had a song about that, so safe to say there's a ton of shit out there. Duran Duran's Planet Earth is about that, and we lost Scott yet again, so his connection's terrible tonight, so. But yeah, so there's apparently, as we talked, there's so much out there, but especially go to metal, and you're going to definitely find a lot of music about that. So, all right, so I think we talked enough about that so far because I could just go on, just name songs all day long.
I did get one if I can contribute here.
Oh no, please.
All right, this is a segue here. Yeah, so this is the band Bad Religion, great punk rock band. They got a song called Generator. Starts like a rock, like a planet, like an atom bomb. And actually through that, I got in touch with the musician Emily Davis, who does Bad Religion acoustic covers. And that's where I learned a lot of Bad Religion songs I'd never heard before, including Generator. I was like, this is great. And she's actually featured in Apocalypse Rock. So nice. Really cool.
Very cool. All
right, there we go. So I threw my chip in. There we go.
There you go. Yay! Excellent, Brian. Yeah, I'm a punk rocker from way back when too. Like I said, those early '80s. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a lot of hardcore shit. I was listening to a lot of British punk back then.
That's when it was happening. Yeah, it was happening back then.
For whatever reason, I'm not talking about Sex Pistols. I'm talking about a lot of other stuff too, like what is it? I can't remember. Peter and the Test Tube Babies. Channel 3's English is I can't remember. Anyway, I could go on. But anyway, I used to listen to a lot of punk back then. I had my punk phase, and towards the late '80s, I got to a metal phase, and now it's like it's a mishmash. But anyway, so all right, we wrapped up music, Scott. So now let's kind of move on to talk about In the Apocalypse with the loss.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Again, one of the reasons I keep interrupting you is number one.
Because you like doing that.
No, I'm rude. It's because I'm rude.
That's true.
All right, I'm rude. And the second reason I keep interrupting is I never know when I'm going to be kicked offline, so I have to say these things when they're in my head rather than wait for an appropriate time to say them later.
So how does that different than any other time?
It's not. Essentially it's not. The one thing I wanted to throw out on the subject of apocalyptic music is there's for those of you who are Fallout fans, I mean, one of the things I loved about the Fallout games was the rather ridiculously inappropriate music that came out with Fallout 3 when you got that radio station, the Apocalypse, and all the music was just like this incredibly sunny and cheerful 1940s, music that was sort of completely incongruous to the nightmarish landscape you were in. So yeah, it had that going on. But the other thing I wanted to point out is that with the proliferation of various tools for manipulating the Fallout game through the what they call the GEC, and create your own scenes, make your own stuff, a fair number of people have actually made music videos where they have used things like Cash's the God's Gonna Cut You Down, or Land of Confusion, to make their own music videos using the apocalypse as a backdrop. And one of the ones that I really like is somebody made this astounding video using the level editor for Fallout 3, and using a song called "This Is War" by a band called 30 Seconds to Mars. And it's out there on YouTube. I guess the guy's name is Joylock, Joylock. I'd recommend looking at it because it entertained the crap out of me, because he had the level editor. He did the thing that everyone who's played the game wanted to do. He went and created, using the level editor, scenes that he set together of the endings he wished he could have had in the game. Because one of the things we've talked about Fallout is it was a game where it did a really nasty job of presenting you with hard decisions where the best you could hope for was what's the least horrible decision or outcome you can generate. And he actually, and as part of his video, he went back and clearly fixed all that. The two that stand out, of course, is he fixes that 10-penny tower problem, Jared.
Oh, he does, huh?
Yeah, and he also, there's also this bizarre point where he's changed the animation so that robot that thinks it's Button Gwinnett, when you're rescuing the what do you call it, the Declaration of Independence, is now a museum guide in that weird museum that's in the Rivet City aircraft carrier. You can actually remove him from that environment and put it, at least that's to do with the level editor.
Okay.
Those are really cool little exercises in music and Apocalypse that fans have done.
Cool.
That's cool.
All right, now we're going to talk about, let's talk about, like I said, music after the apocalypse. And what I'm going to do is let's start that off by talking a little bit about Brian and Doug's movie. And if it's okay with you guys, what I'll do is I'll start off by showing the special view, the special limited edition trailer. How's that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
The sneak peek of the trailer.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get that going here. So just bear with me a second, folks, because it does relate to music in the apocalypse, because it's the apocalypse and this dude's playing music. So he's using up his reserves to play music. So let's go ahead here. This I think I got to do a screen share. So let's bear with me. I think I could just do the video. Let me see here. Apparently I cannot. Oh, media player, perfect.
This will be a first for podcast at Ground Zero. Oh, yep, there we go.
I think you're seeing something. I have no idea.
I'm seeing the screen. I see Windows Media Player.
Perfect.
The trailer starts with just that's part of it right there.
Let's see how well this works. You guys seen it?
Nope.
The 2 lines.
All right, let's try this again. Stop. Let me try desktop share then. Hold on, instead of just an individual item. Entire screen. Oh, I forgot it goes into an infinite loop.
Oh, cool!
Wow! That was awesome.
Fall out of my chair.
Up there,
That's what the apocalypse is actually like. Just an infinite mirror into nothingness.
Okay, so now you guys should just be seeing the video screen, right?
Yes, I do. I do see the video screen. I do see the player down below. Let's turn the sound up.
All right, let's see what happens here. Are we hearing the video?
We're seeing it. I can barely hear it.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
This is where I talk about where the link is and the password for the link.
Yeah.
Here.
No, I can't hear it, but I don't care.
You guys can't hear anything?
No, I can't hear it. No, but
it was like fast forwarding or something, I thought.
All right, so apparently that's a fail. It's hard to.
all right. Well,
We can plug the link here, and then people can like.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought I could try to.
No!
as we fall into infinity, that's the best thing ever.
Apparently, it doesn't share video too well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm assuming it's going to be the same link that Karen sent me, but earlier.
It'll be I mean, they can go to apocalypserock.com and it'll be on the main page there.
Okay, so all right, so let me just go here. It's so the link will be on the main page, guys.
Right, and the super secret password's really hard. It's ground0, all lowercase.
There you go.
So folks who are just listening, you're going to go to their website. It's I've already posted it on the event page, and I'll post it again. It's Apocalypse Rock, one word, apocalypserock.com. And you're going to go to the main page there, and you'll be able to put the super secret code in to see it for a limited time. For the it's password required. So put ground0 in there, and you'll be able to watch it. And it's for a limited time because Google Hangout sucks, and we don't know, and I don't know what I'm doing, so I wasn't able to share very well. So
you can also send your musician friends a submission page where they can submit music, because we're just looking to collect even more music to bolster our soundtrack with just the right selection. So. That's a good place to go as well.
Excellent. And I know I just posted that link there again. And I know how long is that going to be good for, that link?
I don't know, Karen. I think we're going to run until like tomorrow at noon, I think. So you got a night and a half day. So.
Okay, so whoever.
So what are we wasting time with this for? I should go right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It did not. I don't know why I didn't share. You know, I want to try again, but I don't want to waste time with that. But everybody, yeah, if you're listening later tonight, listen tomorrow. It's going to be up there for. It's a sneak peek of the trailer. I've seen it myself. It's pretty good. So, Apocalypse Rock. So let's talk about it's relevant. It's about music in the apocalypse. It's like what this guy is doing. It's like he's not making his own music. He's using what's in front of him. He's probably running on generator power, I assume, and he's broadcasting every day, right? So.
Give us the setup.
Yeah, because that's because his power is going to last forever, right?
Yes, no. We pick him up at about 2 or 3 days to go, where he's kind of you get that opening excitement of like a Good Morning Vietnam, just the comedy, and then you're immediately hit with the problem, which is always as the lights start to brown out, he's kind of running down his last few canisters of fuel. And that's where he starts to kind of come unraveled as he's had his emotions in check for so many years, we presume, but now things are coming to the surface that he's having to deal with, and having to deal with the fact that he is alone. So that's where we find him.
So he's staved off that apotheosis by throwing himself into this process that's about to run out.
Well, yeah. Doug, we talked about this. I mean, you'd say he's a bit of a narcissist, right? Like, he was very content to do this and would have loved to keep doing it.
Yeah. There was a part of him that really enjoys what he did every day, It wasn't all devastating, and there's a part of him that's sad that it is coming to an end for sure.
Yeah, because he was using the music to help keep it. It's not even just the process, but the music was part of the process to help him keep his mind together. Because as far as he knows, he's the last one on Earth.
Right.
I assume.
He kind of creates this whole world that he is the star of, in a sense, and nobody's stopping him, and nobody's censoring him, and he can just be whoever he wants to be. And there's something I think he really enjoys about that for sure.
And he not only plays music, but he also, he has access to because it's an older radio station that the government obviously hasn't updated. You've got old analog machines, so he's making his own callers that he can interact with Kids running down Pat.
That's
starts
some
arguing with him at
gold-plated
some points, you know. So yeah, so that kind of shows, you know, where he is when he starts arguing with himself, and you know, it's funny. It's got, like I said, it's got a bit of the Good Morning Vietnam to it in that the different callers, but he's playing against his own tapes, which is a lot of fun. And these are things that he could have created. You know, we're very careful about details in what we put in the room. So he could have created his tapes himself. He does his own commercial jingles. He's got a broken Casio keyboard where, like, you know, a dozen keys are just smashed, but that's in theory where he created his jingles for his commercials, and we had a ton of fun just letting, you know, setting the camera rolling and letting Doug just say, do whatever you want with this room. We had sparks flying at different points. We had these old PC kind of computers that were still running, like just like the old laptops back when they were, like, you know, this big. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh, so some of his acting wasn't all scripted. You just had him kind of improvising what he was doing.
Yes, yeah. For
nice.
The opening, because of the frenetic energy of the opening with just him in his element, we just had a lot of just say, you know, go and have fun, you know, play air guitar, smash records, whatever you can think of, and we had a blast with that. So it was great filming that part, but then when I got to the sad parts, it was depressing and awful. So. It was wonderful. It was great, but I was like, why do I keep writing such sad movies?
But I did see that in the trailer, how he was like, let's go to the phones, and he's like got a box of tapes of like different callers to put in, which I thought was pretty genius, you know, ingenious. I love that. That's really cool. He's like, yeah, you know that because you're me, and he's just
yeah,
that is some gold-plated 8-cylinder crazy. That it's very nice. So, question for you: How did you? Who was our writer on this? Are you also the writer as well as the director on this?
I was. Doug also helped with the writing, and a good friend of mine, Eric Noley, was another writer. Yeah, we kind of just went back and forth and just kind of, you know, decided how much funny, how much serious, and what jokes were the best. And we certainly filmed more than we would need, which is going to come down to editing. But
deleted scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Deleted for a reason, right? So I always say that I'm like, oh, I'm watching these deleted scenes. They're terrible. Oh, they're deleted. But just trying to figure out what was the most bang for our buck in terms of fitting in the best jokes and not wasting any time. So.
Nice, very good. We lost Scott again, but what else is new? But yeah, no, I said I like the concept of it because you figure, because even after the apocalypse, you know, whether you're alone or there's groups, you know, people, you know, besides just the horrifying day-to-day living of survival, you know, you got to entertain yourself. You need something to help, you know, with your sanity, whether it's, you know, reading old dusty books or music. And music, I think, would be an essential part of that. You know, so I don't think we're going to lose music in the apocalypse. It's just it's going to be in a different format. We're not going to put on our, you know, we're not going to, oh, let me play on my iPhone, let me look at my iTunes. You know, we're not necessarily going to have, or maybe we will, because maybe people have generators. Maybe people are going to be charging, you know, to listen to their music and broadcast it. You know, people are definitely going to go things like you said, finding acoustic instruments, banging on things. Something else I thought of, because I recently read, I audiobooked a couple of older post-apocalyptic stories, because that's something I'm always doing now. It's still reading books. Is I did The Earth Abides, and that was written in like 1950-51. So it wasn't quite a modern story, but they were still playing music, but it was because they had old Victrolas, you know, to play their music, because they still had 78s, and they played it on there. So to me, that makes sense. Now in 2014, you know, how readily you're going to find an old Victrola to play your freaking records?
I think it's interesting to note that we think of music in the construct of the technology that we've created in like the last 100 years, 200 years. Like, humans have existed forever and have always had music, like whether it was humming or singing or banging on something, you know. It's a natural phenomenon. Even animals like relate to music and have their own forms of it. Just, you know, sonic communication. You know, if there was an apocalypse, there'd probably be two schools. There would probably be the one that's like, we need to retain what we've gathered and let's plug in and charge and this and that. And then there'd be the other school that's like, no, let's make new music. Let's forge ahead and do what's different. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I know, Doug. I think you make a very valid point. You're going to have those camps. You're going to have the one of people who are going to cling to the old world and say, no, we got to do this. Charge the powers. Like I said, find the old Victrolas. Because you think of music, but you're right. Man has been making music, forever. The ancient civilizations from the caveman, whether it's banging on a stick, on a log, or whatever the case may be. So, and you're going to have people want to make the new music. They're going to, like I said, go do the acapella. They're going to do the, get a tree trunk hollowed out and we'll get some, deer skin and we'll stretch it. We're going to make ourselves a drum. Whatever it is. People have always had music, and I think people are always going to want to have music because, people need entertainment. People want to have fun, and generally music's fun. At least I think so. I enjoy listening to music. I listen to music all day long at work because. You know what? I work in an office 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and you know what? Music helps me keep my sanity. Because I'm not in Doug's character situation where I'm the last man alive and this music's helped me keep me sane. I'm in a fucking office, 40 hours a week, and I need my music to help keep me sane.
Which means you're in a really horrifying situation.
Exactly. It's terrifying. Well, and also I used to just listen to it on my speakers, but now I've gotten to where I put my headphones in because the people around me I can't stand just listening to them talk anymore because it's like I want the apocalypse because I want them all to die so they'll leave me alone. So
we certainly gravitated towards those more organic ways to record and play music. You mentioned the Victrola, and a scene that inspired me largely for Apocalypse Rock was from the film Book of Eli, where the creepy old cannibalistic couple have the old Victrola they're playing. What song are they playing, Karen? Ring My Bell? Ring My Bell, yeah. So they're playing, so that's a physical way. There's no, diodes or anything. It's merely a physical way to recreate music. So, I think Doug plays a CD once in the movie, and we don't even see it. Most of it's records, it's 8-tracks, it's tapes. It's just these more physical and more organic ways to recreate sound in the analog ways, which it will eventually regress back to.
Well, but some of that stuff's harder to destroy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vinyl is actually harder to destroy than digital technologies, and also easier to recreate in the ability to create a needle, as opposed to the ability to create a laser. Is that how we're reading?
Yeah.
There was a time when it was I guess there was a time it was a laser disc, but how do we read a CD? Is it from?
It's a laser still.
Laser, yeah. Well, so actually, when we were writing the script, my friend Eric and I were going back and forth. We have this running joke where we say, if it's just me, Doug, and Eric left after the apocalypse, things will never have again. Bridges. How do you build a bridge? I don't know. Or lasers. What's a laser? I can rub 2 rocks together. Are we getting close?
Yeah, I think that modern technologies give us this idea that we know a lot more than we do. Like if it wasn't for just a few really, really brilliant people in the history of the world, we'd still be living in caves.
It's magic to me.
In the woods, like we're, it's been a few. I'm an idiot. I don't know a lot. And we all are, and everybody's like, no, I'm smart. No, you're not. You're not smart. There have been a couple people who are very smart, and that's why we pull out a phone and we're like, oh, I'm texting. What the hell is happening when I'm doing that? How are you getting,
he sounds like? He sounds like that school teacher professor in the first episode of Survivors.
Yes.
Who's like the PhD educated guy, and he's like, yeah, I have a PhD. I'm a doctor of English or history or something like that. I think if pressed, I could make a stone axe.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, Doug, you are absolutely 100% right. Like, everybody, we know stuff about the stuff we have, but how did it get there? We have this many people, but this many people made the stuff for all of these people.
And made it accessible to them and to all of us. And it's like, it's even information, even the things that we know, like the fact that I know anything about space or quantum physics or theoretical physics, listening to physicists talk blows my mind apart, and they're dumbing it down so that my mind can be blown into little dumb particles. Some people are so smart.
Well, let's talk. One thing I want to point out about this that you're talking. One of these is going to affect is the ability to recreate musical instruments. If we, what do we do with our Fender guitars if we have no place to plug them in?
Right.
We use them as weapons.
Yeah, first we'll use them. Yeah, we'll club each other to death with a Fender guitar.
Which does make audible sound, so I think we're on to something.
But I was just in a place in Seattle here called Dusty Strings, which is this music store. I was just in there this afternoon, and it was all these different stringed instruments: hammered dulcimers, guitars of various stripes, ukuleles, steel strings. It wasn't things like violins and basses and things like that, but you see all the fine wood craftsmanship of these instruments and what they're made, how they were made. In fact, one thing that struck me is there was a mandolin, and the resonance chamber on the mandolin was made out of a taxidermied armadillo, which struck me. But there was a lot of drums. There was some skin percussion instruments that were in there as well that were of various stripes. And one of the things that really got me was I think it's called a box harpsichord or a thumb piano, which is this little wooden chamber with a few pieces of metal on the end over a hole in it, so it's a resonance chamber. And just by stroking those pieces of metal and making these little thumb noises, it goes into the resonance chamber and it creates you can create very complicated and very intricate sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I thought of, looking around that store, thinking about today's show was, as long as there's people and there's stuff laying around, we're going to find a way to make music out of it. I mean, steel drums, which are so, these complex, beautiful instruments are made out of trash.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no way that humans are not going to make music. It's what we made from the beginning. It's the earliest parts of culture. So there's going to be music in the apocalypse, or after any kind of crash of technological man. There's the question of what they're going to. I mean, some of it's going to be salvaged, but then they're going to have to make new stuff.
But what are all the teens going to do when they can't, listen to their iTunes though?
It's very. I'm betting mass suicide.
Yeah.
Mass suicide. They'll just all check out at once.
Oh my God! I can't download new music.
They'll swallow their iTunes, man, the music device, and just choke to death on it.
If we're lucky, right?
More than likely, Jared, they're going to be like feral packs.
They will be.
Whose only new music will be tying adults like us, grups like us, to trees and then setting parts of us on fire. That's how they make music.
I'm gonna get sneaky after the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Ready.
Now I do want to mention another movie, apocalypse movie. Now let's see. Now I know you're going to get this, Scott, but let's see if I'm going to say a line from the movie. Let's see if we could get what movie this is. Okay. All right. Only one man could kill this many Russians. Bring his guitar to me.
Yeah, okay.
You know it, Scott?
Yes, that's Six String Samurai.
That would be Six String Samurai.
Yeah.
Doug, Brian, have you ever seen Six String Samurai?
No.
It is a movie that came out in 1998, which was about there was a nuclear war. It was a nuclear war in 1957, and it's probably about 40 years later. The Russians invaded. The last bastion of civilization was Las Vegas, where Elvis became the king. Now the king died, and it's a comedy. It's action because like the main protagonist is called Buddy, and he looks kind of like Buddy Holly. He's got a samurai sword and his guitar there, and all these musicians are traveling to Las Vegas to become the new king. So and there's fighting. It's all kind of like
fighting their way through the Russian army. Cavemen driving trucks. That was one of my favorite. The cavemen truck. Death himself, and that great 1950s family who are the cannibals. Those guys were awesome.
So he's like this martial artist, and he runs along. He finds this kid, and he's fighting everybody, and he's a musician, and he's a samurai, and there's a lot of it's all 50s culture.
And everything. And the Red Elvises.
The Red Elvises are in there as well.
Well, I think the whole soundtrack is the Red Elvises, isn't it?
Well, the music is there's also a lot of songs there. Brian, Doug, you familiar with the band the Red Elvises?
Never heard of them.
Oh my God! See, you're learning something tonight.
Education.
They what they call it Siberian surf rock. These Russian guys who took kind of like rock and roll kind of surf music and put like a Russian folk music twang to it. They started playing in California in the streets back in like the mid '90s, I believe. So they tour around. They've got like 10, 12 albums out. I've seen them actually a couple times down here in Florida. They're pretty good. So they're predominant in this because they're Russian and they play kind of that rockabilly type music because it's this rockabilly.
Yeah, it's half rockabilly, but it's got this serious, surfer sound, California surf music sound mixed into it. It's really good.
So the whole movie's kind of about that. It's a crazy adventure, but it's definitely music in the apocalypse. So it's kind of interesting. I just watched it again last night because we were doing the show. So because we're thinking about movies, but
what was the music that was being played on acoustic instruments in the shitty Costner Postman?
Oh, they were just playing like acoustic guitars, maybe an acoustic bass.
Yeah, but wasn't it actually some song now?
They were playing. It was a '70s song. Shit, I think it was a '70s song. I don't remember.
Queen.
I don't know. The Postman is such a. We did a whole show about that, and it's just the biggest problem with the Postman was Kevin Costner, and it was 3 hours long. 3 fucking hours long. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I
want to throw something else out in that department, and that is that idea of hearing the modern music played on acoustical instruments. There's a band called Great Big Sea, S-E-A, S-E-A, like ocean, Great Big Sea, and they do a version of REM's It's the End of the World as We Know It, but they do it all on acoustic instruments, and they speed it up so it has this sort of Appalachian, bluegrass sound to it. And it's kind of hilarious as a post-apocalyptic tune because it has this, well, if we have regressed to a pre-electrical, pre-industrial civilization, this is what the great old hits are going to sound like when it's filtered through, cultural music and the available instruments.
Oh yeah, there's a guy, he's on YouTube, he basically plays Slayer, are you familiar with Slayer, the thrash metal band Slayer, playing Raining Blood on a freaking ukulele. It's fucking hilarious. It's fantastic. But that's apocalypse right there. But Brian, what else can you share with us about the movie? What can you tell us about it a little bit? Anything anything you want to talk about the movie? Anything with your process, inspiration, why you chose that subject matter? I mean, anything you want to tell us because we'd like to hear more about it.
Unload.
Well, I actually wrote the film while writing another film. I was working on a film that was entirely done in split screen, where a man surviving after the apocalypse and a woman surviving, they don't know that they each exist, and you're watching them simultaneously survive, encounter obstacles, get hungry and stuff. I said, how can they interact how can each side of the film interact with the other? I said, how about one finds a radio station and is sending out signals, and that's where that idea kind of came from for Apocalypse Rock. That was interesting to have, one film turn into another there. We'd actually done another apocalyptic film for the 48-hour film project, which is basically, I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
You get a weekend to make a movie, basically. We got sci-fi, so we basically did the last day on Earth, where a meteor's coming and everybody's coping in totally opposite ways. You've got the couple that wants to go watch the meteor. You've got the guy that's just the big guy running through town naked eating an ice cream cone. You've got the guy in the roof drinking a beer. You've got the best friends watching their favorite movies, not caring. So we kind of think of that as the spiritual prequel to Apocalypse Rock, I don't know, Doug, anything you want to film about Apocalypse Rock?
I don't know.
I it, right?
I had fun making it. I love working with the team. Everybody's such a character on this team. Down to everybody. The sound guy, Boom Shadow, is there's this thing where every time we make a film, Boom Shadow falls down somehow. There's like an instance during the filming where the sound tech has an accident and he falls down. Nothing terrible.
Comical,
Usually very funny, very comical.
So you're not gonna make anything set in like mountains.
No. The worst we've done is we did a pirate movie and it had a lot of hills in it and beaches, and he kind of rolled down a hill at one point, but that was.
Nice.
Oh, he fell in a creek too. Yeah, he found a creek.
He found a creek.
Yes. But no, I mean we're very, we tend to, like I said, be very careful in our design. So the entire set was built in a warehouse. There's nothing there. We built everything from the ground up, exactly how we did it, exactly period accurate. We brought all the gear in.
Can I ask the question about, since every time I ask a question I get cut off, go to black, how did you track down how did you find the various gear, and was the gear stuff that you modified to look like broadcast equipment, or was it actual stuff you salvaged?
It was we had a fantastic production designer who works for, what's the school that John works for?
James Madison?
James Madison, yeah. And he has access to a tremendous props department, and he just came through and said, I got all this old reel-to-reel and this and that, and we're like, bring it all in. And we had different levels of gear. We had, what the government put in there and forgot about, so really old gear. We had stuff that Doug, the character Tom Harper, had found, so we had gear that was smashed up and dirty that he had patched in. There's different layers we built to the sets. You had that government layer, you had the Tom's layer, you had his, like, punk rock kind of, posters and imagery on the walls, the way he's patched things and run things to make it his own. So we kind of like set it up as the government would have it, and then we had Doug go in there and we kind of worked with him in that and got him to make it how he wanted it to be. So you can see different layers of occupation of that space.
Oh, that was on the way. The set was remarkable. It really was like we might as well have just rented out an actual radio station, because it was awesome. It was really
that's almost a disappointing part, because that part of me is like, oh shucks, people are gonna think, wow, we just found a radio station to film in, but it's not. It's just set walls and we
exactly.
That shows how good of a job you guys did. If it actually,
that's right. Yeah.
If you got to the point where you're like, is this a radio station or this is a set? If you got to that point, you did your job right.
Right.
You had one job to do, Brian,
and you did it. You did it.
Dang it. Well, our production designer, we had windows in the side of the warehouse, and he matched the cinder block and blocked out the windows. So when it was time to turn on the set, we're like, "All right, there were windows there." So that was kind of a neat segment there. But a lot of the gear was borrowed, and we had very carefully labeled, "Do not smash Doug." Because at some points we're like, he's Doug's getting pissed.
You think that was going to stop Doug?
we didn't know. We had insurance, right? Get that insurance going. But we had the gear that we smashed, like the Casio keyboard. The production designer said, I don't want it back. So we're like, sweet. So we got to smash up a keyboard and have the keys fall out. Like how long the keys are on a Casio keyboard. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
We had records we bought to smash.
Go ahead, Jared.
No, I was saying when. So I know you're in post-production now. When are you looking? When are you looking to release it? An ETA, and where and how are you going to be releasing it?
The trailer says fall 2014. That is changing. Fortunately, our company's doing
spring.
Very well. We're busy. It's going to be spring. When people want to get out of the
2014
and go see a movie. So we're thinking, what is it, Karen? March or April, and we're actually going to have. Can we mention that, or is that super secret? Oh, the AFI, is that secret? Okay, we're gonna be having
now.
We're gonna be launching a second crowdfunding campaign to raise money for post-production. And one of the features we're gonna add is offering tickets to a private screening, because we don't have the premiere, because that'll ruin us for festivals. But it's going to be at the AFI Silver in Silver Spring, which is an excellent venue of anyone that's in the area.
Is that up by you in Maryland?
Up by us in Maryland, yeah, just out of D.C., a stone's throw from D.C.
Of course,
so
I can't come.
Florida, yeah, we're not going to Florida and watch a movie. That's ridiculous, Mickey Mouse, and all that nonsense. But it's going to be up at AFI Silver.
You want to be close to actual ground zero, near D.C.
Right, yes. We are in the burn zone, so if Atomic Bomb hits, we're good. I'm cooked instantly. But that's going to be the first place to be able to see it in April.
So you're going to be actually releasing it into theaters, or as much as you can into theaters?
It's going to probably largely go through the independent film festival circuit.
Okay.
So it's going to be, yeah. I mean, I don't want to say Sundance because that's just a kind of a branding name you say, but it's going to be in venues like that. It's going to be wherever it'll screen, all over the country, possibly even in Florida, because festivals are everywhere. So whoever will take us, you know.
There's got to be some apocalyptic film festivals. God knows there's a Lovecraft one.
There are.
Now, after all that, is there any plans on releasing it in mass to, like, you know, people could, like, download it or buy a disc, or is there any plans to do something like that after the festivals?
Yeah, distribution for a short film is tricky. There's not really many options for it besides, I mean, Sci-Fi Network has been great with short films. They'll do, like, short film runs for, like, you know, short films don't fill up 30 minutes, they don't fill up an hour. They fill up random times from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, you know. So Sci-Fi is great for being a venue for that. It'll probably be some kind of a pay-per-view online or just downloadable. What's that, Karen? Ooh. Maybe IndieRain.com is another website we can go through, but it's basically short films are really calling cards and ways to get people excited about the film team and to see what we can do. And we've done a lot of short films and people like them, so that's why I keep saying we do a feature. People kept saying, this should be your feature, because we were trying to cut down content. We're like, should we expand it? No, let's just do the last short, and we'll jump into the feature. So.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll start kind of wrapping up, but now I'll still keep in touch with you guys for sure. Like as it gets closer to release, you know, any information you want to share, anything, you know, links will help, cross promote you, because like I said, I love the concept. Love independent film, love people going out and just doing stuff they love to do, because like as we do here on the show, this is a complete, you know, labor of love, this show right here. This is just a hobby. This is just something we love to do, you know. There is no monetary value tied to this at all.
Yet! We're going to find a way to monetize this. I just know it.
You lied to me. I have some money.
Yeah. we do that a lot. We do lie a lot. So, but yeah, no, we'll definitely keep in touch. You know, as we know, and folks, we will definitely post, you know, any links, any information we can about the show, because, you know, now that you know, Apocalypse Rock and the crew are all now officially friends of the Apocalypse, and they're friends of the show now. So we will definitely continue to help each other. And when you get your next
Kickstarter or whatever.
Or Kickstarter, what do you
let us know, we'll promote it.
Right, absolutely great.
Yeah, your fundraiser, we'll definitely, you know, put it out there, because, you know, our meager followers will definitely make sure they get out there and know about it. So we'll definitely help you guys out for sure, because again, it was good. So all right, folks, so we're gonna wrap it up this week for Music in the Apocalypse. Hopefully we've all learned something this week. Next week, or not next week, 2 weeks from now, we do the show typically about every 2 weeks, because that's about all we have the time for. Is the next show is going to be Day of the Triffids, folks. So we are going to be talking about the book, the movie, the 2 versions of the British TV show that they put out. And yes, Scott, I did make my way through the 2009 re-envisioning of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it was awful, dude. It was so bad. Anyway, but we'll talk about that on the next show.
There'll be lots of time to moan in pain.
Yeah.
So and one last shout out from us is follow us on Twitter at LastManRocking.
Ooh, that is a hell of a Twitter handle. nice catch. Last Man Rocking.
So yeah, at Last Man Rocking is their Twitter handle. ApocalypseRock.com is their main webpage. Their Facebook page is facebook.com/Apocalypse Rock.
Got it.
Apocalypse Rock, and I've already posted links, but I'll repost the links there so everybody could find that again. So again, thank you everybody for joining us this week for Music in the Apocalypse. I want to thank our special guests Doug and Brian for joining us this week to sharing the experience. Again, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. It was great.
Thanks for having us.
No, again, thank you for joining. As you know, it was kind of a, you know, at the last minute thing. It was kind of a, you know, just it was meant to be. You know, it's like we were doing the show, and I came across you guys all at the last moment, and Brian's lovely wife Karen helped pull it all together, because, you know, I reached out to her, and you know, we were communicating and made this happen. So again, thank you for being on, and Any last words, anybody? Real quick. Anything?
Hope you like the movie.
Yeah. I can't wait to show you guys.
All right. So
I'm going straight to the website and watching the trailer immediately before it stops being available to me.
Excellent. Go for it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, and folks, again, remember, when you go to apocalypserock.com, on the front page, you're able to enter in the password to get a sneak preview of the trailer. You're going to enter the password Ground Zero. Okay, all one word, Ground
All
Zero.
lowercase, yep.
All lowercase, and that'll get you access to watching the trailer. I've seen it already because I'm special, so it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it. It's definitely worth looking at, and I can't wait till the film comes out so we can see the entire film and see Doug's insanity.
Doug's personal apocalypse.
His own personal apocalypse.
Happens every day.
Every day. So again, for myself, for Doug, for Brian, for Scott, this is Podcast at Ground Zero saying thank you and good night.